Hello and welcome to Codecast, the podcast that aims to give you a glimpse into the world of code coding schools. Join us for interviews with school alumni, current students, industry visionaries and other fascinating guests. I'm your host, Priit, Koff. Enjoy! In this Codecast episode, we chat with Kood co-founder Rainer Sternfeld about the future of work and why to study programming in the age of artificial intelligence. We'll also be joined by Olha and Elena to talk about their experience as graduates of Jõhvi's special second batch, which included 40 young women from Ukrainian students. And finally, we bring you the highlights from a panel discussion at the recent grand opening of the SEB Growth Corner at Jõhvi. Good morning, and it's a great pleasure to welcome in the studio today Rainer Sternfeld, one of the founders of Kood, and a very warm welcome to you. How are you doing?
Thanks, Priit, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I think we could kick off the session with a brief introduction. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Trained as a product development engineer and robotics engineer. Been building companies, products, and teams all my life. I'm one of the founders of Kood Jõhvi. So if I think about my past, I've built several companies. I've invested in quite a bit of companies. And today my day job is I'm a partner at a VC firm called Nordic Ninja, which is the largest Japanese-backed VC in Europe, and also happens to be run by former engineers, operators, and founders. So that makes us quite unique. And we invest in deep tech, digital society solutions, climate tech solutions, and so forth. And so if I think about my past, I've built several teams, companies, and products, as I mentioned, together with other people. And I want to emphasize with other people, meaning that as it happens, it has to do a lot with community, at least in my life. And so Kood is also a part of that mission to provide means and tools and environments for people to learn and build something for themselves and for others, but do that together with others. And so in the past, I've built a company called Planet OS, which started out as Marine Explorer, and that was a global marine professionals community. I've served on the board of GrabCAD, which is a community for mechanical engineers. As a student, I founded the Taltech Robotics Club and the Taltech Photography Club, also part of communities. So you're building together with others, you're learning from others, and I think that's what Kood is like as well.
Okay, but what about your your educational background?
Yeah, I started out as a mechanical engineer, focused on product development. How do you bring products to market? Kind of design engineering, thinking about personas, thinking about manufacturing, thinking about how do you make things. So it's kind of a combination of product design and product engineering. And then I got hired by Taltech in my year 3 as a bachelor student as a robotics engineer because I knew how to do 3D modeling, programming, product design, and I had an interest in robotics. And so I was studying and working on Taltech at the same time. So I converted to robotics in my master's studies. And so then I graduated from master's, and that was at a time when there were no real success stories other than Skype at the time in terms of startups. And then I went to work at ABB. Mm-hmm. So I became an engineer at ABB and eventually a board member in ABB in the Baltics, leading all business development in the Baltics. And so it was a really interesting time. And so the story is really about building new products, new teams, and new businesses, regardless if it's a university or a world renowned corporation or a family company or a startup. Doesn't really matter. The environment is different, but the methods, they may also differ. But I think it's, if you have a mission, you will find the tools how to build new and meaningful things.
So you're not really a software engineer, you're a hands-on engineer.
I'm a robotics engineer. That means jack of all trades, master of none.
Okay, but what brought you to Kood and how the idea came around actually in the first place?
The idea for Kood started out when I was still living in California, and our co-founder Marek, his son attended the School 42 PC, and we kind of had a first-hand reflection from him, what it was like, and the amazement that he was sharing about the program. And since I had also done quite a bit of work around that field, meaning that at Taltech we ran similar product development prototyping courses for high school students so that they would come and study engineering. We built a robotics and a product development course for Tallinn Secondary School of Science, which is Tallinna Reaalkool in Estonian, back in 2010. So this was just one of those ideas that were kicking around that, hey, what if we had like a school like that in Estonia, like School 42, meaning that, you know, the economy is digitalizing, the world is digitalizing, and this is another form of literacy. You have to understand how code works, even if you're not a coder. And then we just started, bouncing ideas around. It grew legs. It had followers. Eventually, we had 8 co-founders, and that's how we got started. And the prep work took us 2 years, and then we launched the school on 13th of September 2021 or 22. 2, I think, yes. So, but we started really the idea already in back in August 2019. So it's been a while. It's been a long journey, but at the same time, it's just the beginning. Okay,
but how satisfied are you with the results so far?
Considering the pace of innovation in education, which is, generally glacial speed, Jõhvi is moving at a much faster pace, and it sometimes feels weird that we have already 2 schools and we have admitted 1,000 people into our system. And we're only getting started because 1,000 people in the grand scheme of things is really nothing.
So we may describe Kood as sort of the future of education in some ways. It's all about peer-to-peer learning, and it's no classes, no teachers, and it's a completely different setup compared to what we are accustomed to in real life. But how will this actually have an impact on the future of work, in your opinion?
Yeah. The way we've built and developed Kood, and I hope we will evolve in the same manner, is we are actually emulating real life. What we see generally in education is that it's sort of distance from real life. And so what we want to do is starting from admission and finishing with employment, it has to emulate real life, and that means you learn the same way like you would learn in a work environment or at home, not like in a classroom or something like that. So we have people achieving different results in our school system the same way like in real life. I have started to compare coding to playing the piano. So you can be a very simple beginner, just a couple chords, or you can play the Second Symphony by Rachmaninoff, which is like arguably the most complicated piece you can play. And there's a whole universe in between those, playing styles or skill sets. And the same goes for coding. So you can be building smaller snippets into your Raspberry Pi to, create, a doorbell sound for your home if you wanted to, or you can build really complicated cybersecurity systems and everything in between. And so I think that's really what we're also trying to encourage. Not everybody has to become the same kind of a coder. We're not building cookie cutter people here. So you can be an investigative journalist, you can be an electrician, you can be an acoustic engineer who wants to learn how to code. All that applies. There is one big bifurcation, which is whether you are a person that's trying to upskill or you're trying to reskill. The upskillers, as a journalist, for instance, you might become a better journalist. You have a competitive edge if you learn Python, scripting. You try to dig into databases to figure out the story. So that's really a competitive edge. That's upskilling. Reskilling means you're completely changing your job profile. That doesn't mean your past is not important. In fact, it is more important to you. So that's like the base. And from there on, we're thinking about how coding helps you to become a better problem solver. So that's working in teams, so nobody does anything alone. We're all interdependent. In organizations building products and services, people who come from an environment who have not seen these types of organizations, they actually find it much more complicated to understand how the organizations work, how the product development or service development process works than coding. You can learn how to code, but you haven't worked in a company that delivers a product. That's a whole different world. So that's another big value that I think Kood can bring. Working with companies, working with in the community with different experiences, gives people the understanding what real world looks like, what products and services look like.
I mean, that's something that I've always thought about as well as a great grand myth that system developers and software developers are just guys who are sitting in their home offices and just quietly typing away at some piece of code and they don't really talk to the outside world, and they usually tend to be rather introverted people as well. But I've heard during these podcasts that this is really not the case, that if you want to be a successful person in the world of software development, then you absolutely need to be a team player, and you need to be in a community with other people. So, so is that the way you perceive the future of this work as well?
I mean, you can be an introvert and you can be a team player.
Of course.
See how these are mutually exclusive. Most of us are still ambiverts. We learn to adapt in different environments. And it's not only teamwork among coders. It's, you would have, if you start a company, you may have 3 coders, yes, but you also may have one product designer, one marketer, one business developer, one coder, different setups depending on what you're building, obviously. But you need to know and understand the market, who you're building, what is the problem you're trying to solve. So I think that's really the key, and we see that also at Kood.
Okay, well, another myth that I've come across quite a few times is that now with the advent of artificial intelligence everywhere, then software development is going to be one of the first areas, besides translations and other things, that will become obsolete because artificial intelligence will take over everything. I mean, what's your viewpoint on this?
Yeah, I love that question, because I think that AI is already transforming how people learn how to code, and their impact will only deepen over time. And I've met so many people now in the last year who are not technical, who are not engineers or haven't learned how to code before. But now with LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude, they say that I've never coded as much as I've coded now. Building snippets or automating some pieces of your life or work. You have to so that is the literacy of the 21st century. And so the way I think about coding is AI for coding is like the calculator is for math. You still have to do the work yourself, and for software that would mean process design, architecture, business logic, for instance, as we just discussed about products and services, integrations, etc. So that's what AI is for code. And so there's a lot that AI can do for you to smoothen that work, so that you would have to you can focus on bringing value. So whether that's like real-time feedback or debugging, or that's like some sort of let's say bringing down barrier in terms of like making mistakes. You can ask LLMs some questions without them judging you or something like that. They can explain pretty complex concepts for you in a simple way. So that's really important. I think what's also really important and what's really interesting is programming in. So we talk about peer-to-peer learning, but there's also pair programming in tandem. So that's very powerful. There are companies out there that organize their work for coders in tandem. So if you work with somebody in a team of 2, that's way more productive than a team of 1. So a team of 1 is not a team; it's just one person. So I think everybody hates documentation. I think AI can help with that. So all kinds of tedious tasks like that, plus continuous kind of debugging and real-time checking of work, that is something that AI can do, but it cannot decide your business questions, your business logic, the purpose what you're building, or the architecture what you're building. It's able to reflect. It's a little bit like a mirror, but a very smart mirror in a way. And then there's, of course, the question what will happen in the future, because AI is, at a certain state today, what will happen in a year or 2 or 10. Of course, it will become much more and more capable. So it will most likely become more interactive for coding. If we talk about like visualizing different architectures, what you've built, understanding your code base. Let's assume you've built already like 100,000 lines of code. You kind of want to understand how it looks like. It's a little bit messy if you look at it just as a text today. You need to be able to understand it. And then it can also help you to understand weaknesses and things like that. So that will probably become better as it learns more. So things like that.
Okay, but so if we see artificial intelligence as a tool, as a provider, as an assistant, as someone who can help you, then the key question still is, what can the people who are using artificial intelligence really do to develop their own critical thinking, so that they're actually asking the right questions from artificial intelligence? Because it seems to me that this is actually the key question when it comes to interacting with artificial intelligence, that it can provide you with the answers, but you need to be able to ask the right questions from it, and you need to know what kind of help you can actually get from these systems.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to use well articulated language for it to respond to you. So it's giving it commands, but you do that in a human language. Like in the past, we also gave computers commands. It was very rudimentary. Now you can use human language to do that. And it's a little bit, I draw parallels to the COVID pandemic, when we were all sitting at home and, we couldn't have very simple conversations with our friends or colleagues, because we had to use full sentences. We weren't in the same room. We weren't like, oh, did you see this? Or, did you hear this? We had to say, we call in, you give like a context for your sentence, then you make the ask or a comment, and then you ask, like for the next steps. So that's how prompt engineering works. Like in LLMs, you have to give them the whole thing. But once you give them the whole thing, it becomes more interactive. You can actually start simpler sentences, but you have to feed it some food before. Otherwise, it doesn't know what to do with you or how to respond to your questions.
How do you actually get to the right food then? What are the key aspects of that?
There's obviously the training data that different models are built on. So some are better at mathematics, some are better at analyzing language, and so models will become multimodal, and so that's something that we are seeing already now. Like the same with IT. Back in the day, we thought IT is all the same thing. Now people are specialized, in banking or let's say biotech or pharmaceuticals or whatever. So the same thing will happen in AI. So it's just going through the same cycles, just in a new level of intelligence.
And that's exactly the same what you're trying to do here at Kood as well. That there is a specialization that takes place at the end of the course.
Right.
That everybody specializes in something, that you don't just walk out from the door as a software engineer who can do absolutely everything whenever.
Yeah, I mean, you can become a full stack engineer, and we need those too, obviously. But if you're a full stack engineer, that means you're not good at something else. So it's still a specialization, right? So we are living in a world of hyper specialization. Yes, it's great to be a generalist. It also is more, there's more required of you if you become a generalist. And it's great to be a MacGyver, but you're never ever going to be a top 1% at something if you're going to be great at everything. Kind of like robotics engineers.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
Yes. So it's great to do that, and interdisciplinary learning is really important, but at some point you have to decide to focus on something. So either it's a business problem or a technical aspect of it or some sort of user behavior, and anything like that. Any specialization that gives you an edge is important in business and in life.
So your summary of this would be that there's no fear of AI taking over the work of programmers, and there's still it's still worthwhile to pursue a career in this software development business.
Absolutely. I think that human plus AI is much better than AI alone or human alone. So I think it's a tool like anything else. And yes, there are some sort of risks with AI development. I have read quite a lot about that. I think, that's a discussion for another time, in the sense that how we develop models and how do we build safety into those systems, that's a whole different thing. However, I do think the specialization of AI is very important. So instead of talking about AGI, we should talk about ASI, so artificial specialized intelligence. And so that's what we're seeing already now. I mean, if you open up ChatGPT, it has a tab menu called Explore GPTs, and there's one for marketing, there's one for speech writing, there's one for code, there's one for anything, really. So, building recipes for your cookbook, whatever. So, and it will have a specialized training data set in there.
Okay. Well, on that positive note, I think we can conclude this part of the interview. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today, Rainer, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. And a warm welcome to the studio to two lovely ladies from Ukraine. Hello, Elena. Hello, Olha. How are you today?
Doing great. Yes.
Great.
Yeah. Very nice.
Okay.
Thanks.
Why don't we first get acquainted a little bit? So, Elena, what's your story? How did you end up here, and why did you choose Jõhvi?
After the war, full-scale invasion began in 2022, I was looking for an opportunities somewhere, and I came across the ads on Instagram. In our we have an app in Ukraine that we use for documents and government self-service, and on their Instagram page I found the ads of Jõhvi, and then I just applied, and that's how I'm here.
But you came to Estonia in 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. And you've settled in here nicely?
Yes, it was not very easy, mentally, but other than that, I think Jõhvi was a nice place to start.
And you were a part of the second batch?
Yeah.
Okay. And now you've graduated from there?
Yes.
And you're actually working in
yes,
this field as well?
I've landed my job at Pipedrive. I've started there as an intern in May last year, 2024. And then I got promoted to junior in August.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Olja, what about you? What's your story?
My story begins as well in 2022 with a full-scale war. At that point, I was a student in university, and I was looking for opportunities that where can I go and how can I continue, because everything was very messy at that point, obviously, yeah. And it was very actually accidentally how I come over, how I found about Jõhvi. My friend sent me the same advertisement, and I was just, why not? I should apply. And that's how I applied, and then I read more about Jõhvi when I got accepted. And that's how I ended up in Jõhvi.
Okay, and what are you doing today?
Now I'm working for our studying platform in Jõhvi for future students, and I'm doing UI UX design for the platform.
Okay, fantastic. But I understand that you studied together and then you lived together in a dormitory in Jõhvi, and now you're living together as well. Did you actually know each other before you came to Estonia?
No.
Okay, so you became best of friends just as an accident, and now you share everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, we were looking for a team with one other guy, and that's how Elena wrote to us, and that's how we became friends. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And after that project, we had all our projects together. That was very good teamwork.
Okay. And the second batch that you were part of was actually a very special batch as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the sense that this was the focus was on attracting talents from Ukraine and particularly young women. How many of you were there in the course?
I think around 40 students, and yeah, that was very, very good advertisement marketing.
It looked like a scam at first to me,
Yes.
because like everything is for free. We provide scholarships and accommodation for us was also free.
Mm-hmm.
And like my parents were very concerned, like how do you go? Why would they do that like for you for
Yes.
free?
And how did it turn out for you? Was it everything you hoped for?
It was more than I could hope for. Yeah.
Exactly. At first, I was very confused how it's possible. Everything so like conditions are so nice in any cases, and yeah, in the end, it was better than any expectations that I had, I would say.
So, what were the main lessons that you learned from your experience there? I mean, any particular skills that you're very proud of that you weren't aware of even before, perhaps?
I think I wasn't like aiming for being a manager or like facilitating all the processes, but I ended up doing that, and it went very smoothly in the end. That I'm very happy, and it helps me a lot with my current work, and I actually get like a lot of recognition from my team because of my management skills and time management and communication and stuff like that. So basically soft skills were a boost for me.
Were you aware of having those skills before you joined the school, or was this something that you consciously developed during the course?
I just allowed myself to try, maybe. I didn't think of myself as of someone who has like a lot of managing and talking and that kind of skills, but then I just allowed myself to do that as good as I can.
But you didn't have any aspirations of becoming a software engineer prior to joining the school?
Oh, I actually did. I've tried myself.
But did you have any experience in the field as well?
A little bit. I was studying satellites. And yeah, you need to code for that, but in a different way. Yeah. So I was kind of familiar with some coding. I've actually tried to develop myself some skills as a software engineer, but there are always some things that are more important at the moment. So as self-learning process, it's very hard to keep myself on track.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jõhvi, with like having a program with the tasks that are the difficulty of the tasks increases gradually, and that helps a lot to keep on track and develop. So yeah.
Okay. And Ollie, what about you? Did you have any previous experience in the world of programming, or did you have any hopes of becoming a software engineer at one point?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I had a lot. I started when I was 15, I believe, and it was at first just computer courses, and then I entered university. And being honest, at university, at some point, I thought that I'm not gonna do it, never. Because yeah, it was a very different experience for me. As I have university experience for this field, and Jõhvi, it's giving different skill set, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But how did you find the entire experience of learning, completely new methods using peer-to-peer learning methodology?
I think it's exactly for this field, as that's something that continuing in a work environment, and it always like peer-to-peer and teamwork. So it's better than like a traditional way of learning this field.
Okay. And what about living in Jõhvi? I mean, it's an interesting town, obviously, and it's very much different, I can imagine, from Tallinn and also from to what you're actually probably accustomed to. So you actually lived there on campus, on site. How was that experience for you?
Very interesting, I would say. That's my first experience living abroad at all. And I'm by myself from capital, where it's 4 million, and going to a town with 10,000 people, it's very, very interesting experience from my side. But a dormitory made it a lot of fun and communications. We had pretty international people, like pretty international community inside. And I had a chance to talk to like very, very different sort of people and connect with them and spend time together. So I think I learned a lot of my soft skills from there, just being.
And what about you, Elena?
For me, it was a nice experience. I've lived in the dormitories before, so I wasn't looking for a community really of like people, but we still communicated, of course, and I've met a lot of great people there. But what was valuable for me personally is the opportunity or like possibility to stay in a cave, in a sense, so fully dedicate myself to studying. Jõhvi is like a place to just be in the flow, and you barely can go somewhere in Jõhvi, honestly. Like cinema.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
For me, it was a good thing. Yes.
Less distractions.
Yes, and that allowed me to, to dive deep into things.
So the environment does actually help the learning process as well.
Yes.
That's so much true, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Just completely agree.
That's fantastic. So now I'd like to ask you to describe a little bit about what your work entails today, the work that you're doing at the moment, and what kind of skills that you picked up at Jõhvi have really contributed and helped you with that.
First of all, as I've already mentioned, is this communication and soft skill part. I value that a lot, and I think people around me, my team, value that a lot as well. And also this mindset of working on the problem when you don't know how to solve it. And it seems like you have no idea what to do. You just look at the code and you understand nothing. And Jõhvi actually teaches you how to start from that, how to start when you don't understand anything. Just doing something, and then somehow it comes together.
Okay, and how would you describe your current work, the work that you're actually doing at PipeDrive at the moment?
Yeah, I'm an iOS engineer, and I'm working mostly on the maintenance of the app that PipeDrive has. Right now we have this mission Launchpad framework, which we have like new features are coming with the mission, like a separate flow of work. And right now I was selected to lead that mission, which I think is a result of this soft skill situation that I've mentioned. So, and with this mission, I'm also a little bit lost where to begin, what to do, but I'm trying. I keep it going, and somehow it works.
Fantastic. And what about you, Olja?
My current work actually includes everything that we were working together in projects. So I would begin with our projects and how we worked in school. That it gave me very well understanding of real work environment and how it's gonna look like, and I think that was very useful for my current position. And how Lena mentioned about soft skills, I think that's something that really helped me a lot to how communicate inside team, and how solve different problems as I faced. Field also that I'm not that proficient in some way, and I had many questions from scratch, and this problem-solving way of looking into any problem helped me a lot to overcome everything that I faced.
I have an addition for that. Also, asking for help is a huge thing that we learned at Jõhvi, because peer-to-peer requires, sometimes you are stuck and you cannot think of any issues and any solutions, and you have to just go and ask other people. Like for us, it was first batch. It was students who were ahead of us in our batch, and at work you also have to go and ask for help, and that's not a weakness, that's a skill.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that's a very enlightening conversation that we've just managed to have here. Thank you very much for joining us in the studio today, and I wish nothing but the best of luck to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A significant milestone was celebrated at Jõhvi in January, the opening of the SEB Growth Corner. To celebrate, a dynamic panel discussion brought together thought leaders and industry experts, Ede Tamkivi, Lauri Haav, Ainika Tamm and Sander Aasna. In this next segment, we bring you the highlights of the talk, discussing how partners are integrated into Jõhvi's activities, what should students be prepared for, and how to take and give feedback. We also catch a brief glimpse into how SEB harness artificial intelligence in their operations. Enjoy.
So how well do we integrate our partners into this process of studying, Lauri? You probably have the best picture here. So all of these people here are just starting the very first, but just give a hint what's in store.
Yeah, love to. So there's quite a few partners for Jõhvi. I think you can see some personal names on the wall here on the blackboard there, but also downstairs if you look at the different logo cloud, I suppose, because it's hanging from the ceiling, so it's not a logo wall. Then all of these companies in some shape or form have participated in helping Jõhvi become what it is. Some have been with us from the very beginning, like SEB was one of the first corporate supporters, but there are also startup companies, some younger, some scale-ups, some sort of more regular companies as well. So basically there's three things. One thing that was already mentioned, kind of mock interviews. So basically you can get like an actual tech recruiter of one of our partner companies to run through this interview process, like what it is, how do they actually hire engineers. So you're gonna, if you haven't participated in that part before, then you get an understanding like, okay, what kind of questions they ask, like how does this flow. The second thing that we do is we do job shadowing. So basically just watch out on Discord. These things are announced. So people are usually going like for 1 day or 2 days to actually visit and like shadow people at our partners' offices to see what they're working on, what kind of roles there are. This is usually more with bigger companies like SEB, like I think also Pipedrive and a few others have offered this opportunity. And then there's also, we get, let's say, senior engineers or tech leads or engineering managers from our partner companies coming and giving these kind of talks. We have job fair coming in February, next month, right? So that's where you can hear about like what life is like in these particular roles, what kind of roles do they have in their teams, what else. I think these are kind of the three kind of main things. So mock interviews, job shadowing, and code talks. So which is how it's branded, code talks. So usually there's some, let's say, also technical people involved who you can ask directly, like how have you managed in your career, or what kind of problems they are facing actually at the moment.
So Sander, you've done the job fair before last year. You were here.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend? So if it's coming up in a month's time for the students already studying at Jõhvi, what should they be open for?
First of all, I think you need to be there, you need to participate there, and ask as many questions as possible from the companies who are coming out and actually are ready to engage and discuss different topics with you. One thing what was like really interesting last year was this speed dating, what you did here as well. So I think this was very interesting. Some people were like extremely well prepared for this. I don't know, it was like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that. So, I think one of the things what last year and also previous years, I think I have participated twice, was about recruitment. So how to actually present yourself, how to focus to the most relevant and most important things if you are going to the job interview, for example, or if you are going around the job fair and building your network or building your connections with potential future employers. So and together we wrote a bit of an article about it as well, what could be like from the recruiter point of view. So I think it's important to think from the recruiter perspective, and if you are building your network here at the job fair or going to interviews, then think about the relevancy of your experiences and your education, what could be important for tech recruiter or a company who is looking for tech talents. So I think this is one of the things that you need to really know your audience.
So first of all, be there. Second of all, be prepared.
Be prepared and think from others' perspective with whom you are going to talk. And be active, reach out, ask questions,
so you don't recommend this typical Estonian salesman tactic that you go to work each morning and start aggressively waiting for the phone call. That won't work.
Doesn't work.
Okay.
I would love to add to the speed meeting part that if you prepare, don't just prepare things about your code, prepare things about yourself as well. Show your personality, show what you'd like to do, and just show yourself. And in that way, you will be remembered. That's a big part.
Yeah, I can agree that the personality is very big part of the hiring process as well, actually, because you need to understand, is a person a good fit for the team or not? Because this team dynamic is very important. You can be like a very good tech talent, but if you are not good fit for the team, usually recruiter may consider some other candidates who's maybe not so well experienced or not so big of a talent, but is able to collaborate better.
Because we still don't have any sort of system for getting extra points for being active, right?
You mean during the sprint?
Anywhere, actually.
No, not in particular, but one thing that I was asked to mention for sure, it doesn't come up maybe so much during sprint, but the concept of giving each other feedback. It doesn't maybe come too naturally. And also if somebody's asking you to, can you review my work, then you don't want to say bad things. You kind of shy away a little bit, at least most people do. But when it comes to reviewing each other's code, then you got to be honest. And that's actually the most helpful thing, because also when later you graduate and you go to work for Sander, his team will shred you to pieces with their feedback. So please prepare yourself already earlier. And that if you are giving feedback about someone else's job or work, it doesn't mean that you are criticizing them as a person. So I'm not telling you that you are a stupid, ugly MF, but I'm saying your code looks bad and this doesn't kind of do the thing it's supposed to do. So this is, sometimes people need to kind of get over this somehow, that you need to give honest feedback. And this is actually maybe like the really big part of the study is actually learn how to give feedback, learn how to get also feedback, and really not get angry about it, but really learn from this feedback. So, because later on in the actual software development team, this is what's happening.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I also want to highlight from employer perspective, that when it comes to tech or like being a software developer, it's still necessary to be visible and to actually be collaborative and vocal as well. So it's not so that you can just sit in a cave and code the whole day and talk with no one, because for example at SEB we are working in Agile, we are using Kanban and Scrum, and we have daily stand-ups, which means that we expect that everyone is sharing, everyone is giving feedback. We have bi-weekly retrospectives where we give feedback to each other, the same daily code reviews, etc. So it is important to be visible and actually be proactive and to share as well. For some people it's harder. I remember that when we started and we have Baltic teams, meaning that most of the day we are working or collaborating via Teams, then it was a challenge to get people to turn their cameras on. But this is like one thing we expect, that we see you and you see us. So better to be face-to-face, but no, this is a new reality that we have hybrid setting. So it is important to be active and ask questions and give feedback. So it not only doesn't help to team and to actually learn from each other, as Annika was saying before, that we're constantly learning by doing, learning from each other, exploring new things, finding solutions to new complex problems, and it helps team to strive to deliver the best outcome possible, but it also helps to your career as well, because in tech area we have also very clear career ladder or career plan what you can have, and the people, what I have noticed, that the people who are climbing on the ladder to the solution architects, to enterprise area architects, etc., these are the ones who are most active as well. Because if you're reaching those more senior positions, we expect that you're also like teaching others, mentoring, being more strict with the feedback as well, and then continuously showing that you are actually learning and have a great self-discipline as well. So can I just second?
And I can add to that a bit. There are students who've been actively, listening, talking in workshops, and they have been often the interviews for intern positions pretty much right after. So being active person is definitely something to be.
But Annika, your perspective on what Lauri was saying earlier about the code reviews. So many students tend to take it as a task.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't really want to do, but so many students I've spoken to have actually said this is the best way to learn. So what's your personal take on that? So how would you say your personal experience was learning from your own code versus reviewing someone else's code?
Well, both, but the learning curve is different. I mean, if someone else is telling you anything about your code, I think in some cases you're so set what you've already done. Sometimes you have the like blinkers on or blinders on that you don't know what to expect. And I think in that case it's quite good that you could do this differently, or you should look at that approach instead. But looking at other people's code is sort of they've done it this way. That's very interesting. Why have you done it? I think that you should always build a discussion around it, not just giving points that, okay, this is done, fair enough. But I think you should build discussions over it, and you will learn either right away.
Mm-hmm. And Sander, as you were saying earlier, that actually helps in a real world setting, that you have people who are used to getting feedback and actually delivering feedback.
Yeah. And one more thing to this code review is that in our case, we are doing hundreds, if not thousands, of changes every week. Every day we have live releases, etc. So the primary source of documentation is the actual code. So no one has time to build up like a huge pile of documentation. And actually you need to understand your code, your legacy, your dependencies to do like a good deployment. So this is one way also how to build your specific knowledge of your domain, that you are looking into code and understanding what is it actually and what's there, and then you can also think through how you are going to build your part, because we have quite a lot of legacy systems as well, which we're continuously developing, and there you also need to understand those dependencies, because everything is kind of interconnected, at least in some way. So we're also decoupling, but this is a good way how to learn them.
So far at SEB, you haven't dismantled any jobs because of AI.
No, and I don't see personally that it would happen anytime soon as well. I really agree with what Lauri said, that no, to us also AI can be like a very powerful tool to assist you, and then we are looking at it from this angle, at how AI can help us to be more efficient and increase our quality, specifically in those repetitive tasks. So for example, when it comes to actually code review partly, bug detection when you're coding, test automation, this kind of things, where we see that AI can actually assist and help, but we don't see that anytime soon. Don't have this crystal ball here, but that anytime soon we would replace or lose any kind of positions or start shrinking the teams or anything like that. Because no, actually there are like different risks involved, and in the end of the day, I still believe that people are the ones who are doing business and actually innovating and building new things, and the creativity is coming from the people, not from the technology. Technology and also AI is just a tool for that. So I don't think that collaboration or people's joint effort will be gone or less significant in any time soon. So we continue hiring, keeping our people, and relying on AI only when it comes to efficiency and quality, to make our own life a bit easier or more efficient.
Thank you for listening to Koodcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show, and please make sure to visit Kood's website for further reading and other episodes. Remember, it's kood.tech. Once again, kood.tech. Be seeing you.